Hey folks, welcome back. I'm Esther and we're back for episode 2 of Esther Explains, the podcast series. On today's episode, I'm joined by my pal Claire. Hey Claire.
Hi Esther.
Claire, tell us a bit about you.
Well, I'm 17, I'm an only child, I'm a massive fan of Liverpool, and I am a lesbian.
And how long have you known you were a lesbian?
I think I've always known that I was not exactly the same, or I didn't really have the same interests as other girls my age. But I think by 12, I was sure that I was, well, at the time I thought I was gay, but I prefer the word lesbian now. It's more accurate.
Our previous guest said teachers need to do better. What do you think of that?
The right teacher can make school so much easier, especially if they're a good ally or like if they have really good advice. But some teachers are, I think, homophobic too, and some are just indifferent. We don't talk enough about just consent or pleasure, or even other sexualities or genders or anything like that. Just, this is how you get pregnant, don't do it.
Is it harder to be you at your school? Do you think it'd be easier to be straight?
Yes, I think it'd be easier to be straight. I've heard girls laughing over this girl who was 2 years ahead of me in school, and she was out at the time, and they were calling her names and saying she was a creep. Then I was like, okay, no way I can be out. They're making fun of her. I'm just not ready to take that on for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like choosing to put yourself in the way of being teased.
Exactly.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the adults listening to this about your community?
Yes, well, there's loads really, but the one thing I'm hearing so much is from older people is like how these identities and words talk about the community are new and too much. Like, they think we're inventing them or something. But I've looked into it and this is so interesting, but so many ancient cultures have queer people in them. This isn't new at all.
That's awesome. Could you tell us some more about that?
Yes, of course. So take the Native Americans or the First Nation people. They believed in two spirits, so it's like a third gender. They were celebrated and appreciated by their communities, and they would marry and everything, and this could be seen as trans or non-binary in terms of our culture or linguistic understanding nowadays. But this is always how it's been. They acknowledge that binary isn't the only option and it's not just them. In Hindu, a third gender is also acknowledged. But will I tell you one of my favorites?
Yeah, please do.
So, my favorite is the Greek story about Iphis, who was the daughter of a king, but was basically raised as a boy, and a goddess transformed her into a man so she could marry a woman. I know that's mythology, but I think that one shows that there was always a consciousness around sexualities and genders. The Roman soldiers, who are seen now as super masculine, had lots of gay practices, and the goddess Artemis, who was the daughter of Zeus, she was fierce and a protector and also a lesbian. I think adults or the older generation believe we're inventing things like non-binary or we think it's cool to be gay, but we've always existed throughout history, in reality and in stories. The words we have now are just updated explanations of experiences human beings have always been having.
Explanations, my favourite. It's great to know our history too. It's empowering, I think. Thank you for your super interesting input to the show. I think we've all learned something today. Don't forget, folks, if you haven't seen the earlier episodes of Esther Explains, you can catch them at linc.ie. Adios, folks, and remember, don't be a butt.